Knowing how to code is what separates average cybersecurity professionals from good cybersecurity professionals. And in this video, I'm going to share resources on how to get started with coding, how to keep your skills sharp, and common traps to avoid if you truly want to become a good coder. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Python because that is the programming language I decided to learn first and is the one that I spent the most time with. Furthermore, I believe that Python is one of the best programming languages to learn for cybersecurity professionals because one, it's beginner friendly, and two, it's used so much throughout the cybersecurity industry. However, there are other programming languages that are growing in popularity. It doesn't really matter what programming language you actually learn, as long as you're learning a common programming language that's growing and that's being used in projects. You can't go wrong with choosing another programming language, so definitely don't feel like you're locked into Python. But these tips and tricks and this mindset that I'm going to be talking about later on in the video apply to all programming languages, so keep that in mind if you decide to actually pursue a different programming language. Hi, my name is Kyser. I have almost 7 years of experience in cybersecurity, and I currently work as a full-time penetration tester, also known as an ethical hacker, and I'm here to help you grow your hacking and cybersecurity knowledge. Before we dive into the meat of this video, we need to address the elephant in the room, and that is, do you even need to learn coding in the modern day? There's a lot of debate there because ChatGPT, large language models, AI chatbots, they can write code for us. Matter of fact, these chatbots can pass entry-level coding interviews, and entry-level coders are getting replaced by AI, and it's a reality. I think it's a very interesting discussion, and it's worth considering. Like, do you even need to learn how to program? And I believe you do, because if you know how to code, then you can actually prompt an AI chatbot on how to write a particular program that you have in your mind. If you don't have that programmer mindset, then you can't even prompt the chatbot effectively. Okay, so that's reason number one. Reason number two, for me, this is a big one. OffSec certifications, for example, the OSWE, that's the OffSec Web Expert, they don't allow you to use chatbots to help you on the exam to get the certification. And the OSWE requires you to know how to program, and you have to write exploits to get the certification. And you can't rely on ChatGPT to get that certification. Now, I know not everyone here wants OffSec certifications, but if you're eyeballing OffSec certifications, then knowing how to code is essential because you can't use ChatGPT. Next up, ChatGPT can only get you so far. Okay, ChatGPT isn't the end-all be-all. Large language models, they're very limited in their capabilities. They're only good for small scripts. They can't write full applications. They can't write even medium-sized programs. They have to be extremely small. They are very limited in capability, at least currently. And if you want to make something serious, if you want to make a serious tool or a serious application, then programming skills is essential, because ChatGPT and other large language models, they get code wrong sometimes. And if you don't know how to debug, if you can't figure out what the problem is with the code, then you can't progress. And then last but not least, there's still jobs out there that require coding skills. And if you get a question on an interview about how to code, and there's a coding portion to your interview, if you don't know how to code, then you're toast, okay? You can't just tell the interview, well, I just use ChatGPT for this. You know, they're going to look at you but like, yeah, anybody can do that. What makes you special, right? If you know how to code, if you can code without help, then you're standing out from the crowd. It makes you appealing to hiring managers. So keep that in mind as you go throughout your cybersecurity career. And like I said at the beginning of the video, coding is what separates an average cybersecurity professional from a good cybersecurity professional. First up, we have online courses, and you see I have Udemy here, which is my preferred online course platform because Udemy has been very solid and you can get really good deals on Udemy. And I really enjoyed this course. That's why I'm mentioning it first, because this is actually the number one thing that helped me learn programming. And I thought the lessons I learned here was better than the lessons that I learned in the other resources I'm going to mention later in this video. And that's why I mentioned this first, because this has been my go-to and this has been my favorite. But the problem with this course now is that it's $199.99. As you can see, that's extremely expensive. And I was mind blown when I sat down to record this video. I saw this. I was actually mind blown, and I'll show you why. Because if you go to my purchase history and you'll see this course right here, I paid $10 for it. I paid $10 for this course, and it's absolutely worth $10. I don't know if it's worth $199.99. If you got the money for it, then go, by all means, go for it. This is probably one of the best options for you. It's definitely cheaper than college, or at least it's got that going for it. But I would be on the lookout for sales, guys. All right, just because it says $199.99 doesn't mean it's gonna be like that forever. And Udemy goes on sales on a very regular basis, so definitely keep this in your back pocket and pay attention to Udemy sales. So maybe not the best place to start when the prices are high. Now, if you can get a sale at an affordable price that you can afford, then go for it, dive at it. And then you see there's other courses out there, like for example, if we search for Ruby, another popular programming language for cybersecurity professionals, courses are all pretty expensive. It's not just that one course, but there's quality learning here. Next up, we have books. I think books are a good starting point for learning programming, and these are the books that I did for Python. So we got Python Crash Course. I thought this was a pretty solid book, and I also went through this book in its entirety, Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. And if you choose a different programming language, there's also similar books for other programming language, and there's even more books for Python. Be on the lookout for books in your local bookstores and on Amazon and wherever else books are sold. Books are definitely a good starting point as well. And then just to give you an idea like what kind of prices you're looking at for books, as you see, we got Python Crash Course, which is the 3rd edition. As you might have noticed, my edition was the 2nd edition. So it's nice to see that they came out with a new edition that's updated. And the price point right now is $28.99, and you can see it's 42% off at the moment on Amazon.com. It's typically $49.99. Next up, we have interactive platforms such as Codecademy. I have heard good things about Codecademy. I have never personally used it. However, spoiler alert, I'm actually going to start doing Codecademy. But if you look at the pricing for this, it's $14 a month, and then if you want to go pro, you're going to spend a little bit more money. So that's a little bit more affordable. Obviously that adds up over time, but it's definitely a great way to get started, because if you go to the catalog here, we can go to Python, you can see there's all kinds of courses. By the way, there's also free courses too. So if you hit the free box, learn Python 2, I would recommend learning Python 3, but if you don't have money, I mean, Python 2 is better than nothing. You know what I mean? Like I said, any programming language is going to do you good. And there's just a lot of options here. And the subscription seems like, to me, it's worth it, I would say, to get started. That's why I'm going to start using it personally in my learning. As you can see, there's also other languages. Look, they even have cybersecurity courses, dude. Now, I don't think I would go here to learn cybersecurity, but if you already have a subscription because you learn coding, then this is just icing on the cake, dude. Look, it's got a CompTIA Security Plus. If you're getting value out of this video so far, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe for more hacking and cybersecurity content. What I think is probably the most important is once you learn the stuff, you have to consistently apply the stuff, okay? And I fell in this trap, and this is why I'm getting back into coding, because I'm getting rusty, guys. ChatGPT has ruined me. I use ChatGPT to do small scripts all the time because it's fast, it's easy, it's convenient. But because of that, I've lost a lot of my skills when it comes to programming, and I feel silly for letting my skills deteriorate. But the good news is I can build them back up, and that's why I want to mention this at the end of the video, because it's crucial. Once you learn the stuff, you have to keep using it. You have to keep applying it, and that begs the question, like, well, how do you keep applying it? Continuously find projects and scripts to write in your personal and professional life. And if you can't do that, which is one thing that happens to me quite often because I'm not scripting every pen test, right? I'm not scripting every time I do a CTF box. Python challenges, or choose your programming language of choice. I have personally used Python principles, so let's go into here real quick. As you can see, I solved the first 4 and then I just stopped. And honestly, I regret stopping. I wish I would have kept doing these. I just stopped because I guess life got in the way, other things took priority. So I would definitely encourage you, once you learn how to code, like, keep solving a challenge every so often. This isn't exciting for me, all right? I don't like programming, okay? I don't like it. It's not fun to me, and it's very challenging, and it's rewarding when you solve the problem, but it takes so much effort and energy to solve the problem. I'm not an expert programmer, guys. I made it to like the intermediate level, and then now I'm back at beginner because I let my skills deteriorate too much. So if I do 1 live stream a week, I think that's enough to keep the skills sharp if I'm doing something once a week. And you got to find out what works for you. I think once a week is a good thing, and that's why I'm getting back into Codecademy. We're going to stream Codecademy. There's also other challenges you can go to, like this one. So I was looking at this. I'm not entirely sure how this works. There's a tutorial here, but this is worth checking out. If it's free, there's different difficulties here. It's like a score tracker thing. It's like a day tracker, like that keeps you consistent. And the reason why they can put this day tracker thing here is because consistency matters in programming, dude. You have to do it all the time. And I'm yelling because I'm angry at myself for letting my skills deteriorate, and I let myself get rusty. I'm so angry about it, but I'm fixing it. Like, dude, like I'm fixing the problem because I'm gonna start coding again. And like I said, it's not always gonna be fun, guys. If we go to my website here and we go to my blog and we go to 100 days of code, I did this 100 days of code challenge. So there's 2 different blog posts because it's so long that they wouldn't let me put it in one. So I had to split it up into 2. And this is everything I've done. So if you want to see my entire journey, read this summary here. I literally wrote, like, here's the code that I wrote on day 100. Document your journey too. I think this 100 days of code really helped me out. And you can see these are getting short towards the end here because I was getting burned out, dude. I just did it because I want to be a great cybersecurity professional. And in order to do that, I have to learn how to code. And sometimes when it comes to this field, cybersecurity, if you want to be great, you have to learn the things that aren't always exciting, okay? If you learn the stuff that isn't fun and isn't always exciting, you're going to become great. That's what great people do. Do you think Tom Brady wanted to go to practice every single day? Do you think he wanted to lift the weights every single day? Probably not, but he wanted to be a champion, so he did it anyways. And that's how the mentality you have to take when it comes to your cybersecurity career. I must keep coding to make sure I don't get rusty. I plan to do challenge weekly. That's what I planned, and I did it for a handful of weeks, and then I quit. And that was my fatal mistake right there, that I did not keep my promise to myself. And that's why I'm highlighting it, is because I don't want you guys to fall in that same trap. I want to learn more programming language, but I'm not sure if I can dedicate the time to them. Learning other skills is going to take priority. And that's what happened. I want to, like, okay, I want to be a better ethical hacker. I want to be a better cybersecurity professional. Let me go get more certifications. Let me do more cybersecurity courses. And because of that, because it takes so much energy to get those done, that they took priority. And because they took priority, the coding skills just, you know, got put on the back burner, and they deteriorated a lot. So to recap, the difference between a average cybersecurity professional and a good cybersecurity professional is coding. If you learn how to code, it can elevate your career to new heights. And if you want to learn how to code, I recommend online courses from Udemy, books, interactive platforms such as Codecademy. And once you learn the stuff and you start writing programs, you have to continuously use a skill. What you don't use, you lose. And that was what happened to me. I fell in this trap because I started prioritizing other skill sets and I just didn't use my coding skills. Furthermore, I relied on ChatGPT to do a lot of scripts for me. ChatGPT is fast and convenient and easy, but because you're not actually using your skills, then you're losing them. So I would avoid ChatGPT at all costs. I would only use ChatGPT if time is of the essence. If you're on like an incident, then yeah, use ChatGPT to write a rule to block traffic that's attacking you. Or if you're on a pen test and you have a very limited amount of time, ChatGPT is probably pretty good to use. However, if you're learning or you're exercising, do not use ChatGPT. I cannot stress that enough. And if you want to keep your skills sharp, you need to find projects to continuously do. And if you can't find projects to continuously do, Google challenges. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see how I'm keeping the rust off of my programming skills, you have to check out my live streams. If you miss them live, you can watch the recap in this playlist right here. And then if you want to learn computer networking, which is also a vital skill that you need to know to be a great cybersecurity professional, you can learn that in this video right here.